Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Giselle, I review fragrances. Welcome if you're new here, and if you are one of my returning subscribers, thank you so much for being here and for your loyal support. Guys, today I have 10 entry-level fragrances for 10 challenging notes. You know those notes that don't work for everyone, those weird notes or difficult notes? Well, I got you covered. I have 10 entry-level fragrances if you want to start discovering these challenging notes. So if you're interested in learning more, stay tuned. Welcome back and let's get started. Guys, the first challenging note I have here on my list is oud. I don't know if you are familiar with oud or not, but it is super duper important to try the right oud fragrance, especially if you're not used to wear oud, because you may end up hating oud when in reality what happened is that you just tried a fragrance that wasn't for you at the time, at least, right? Oud is a very challenging note because it can be very pungent, very strong, very masculine, animalic sometimes, and it is a very particular note because it can definitely change with your skin. Like all the notes change with your skin chemistry, it really depends on your skin. But with oud in particular, it is very, very noticeable how much it can change depending on your skin. Remember always that oud is from a natural origin. However, the production of oud may come from a natural way or from an artificial way. The artificial way to do that, which is unfortunately what has been happening in the last years, is that the farmer goes and make an incision in the tree, so the tree feels attacked, molds come in, they started producing this resin, which is the oud, right? The problem with this excessive harvesting is that many species are running the risk of being extinct. So the natural way is exactly the same, except for the fact that nobody goes and do harm to the tree. The tree gets infected by a mold and start producing this resin, which we know it's the oud. Now, the oud can have totally different smell depending on the tree it comes from, and of course depending on your skin. Since the oud is produced in a living being, which is the tree, you can also expect to change on your skin because us humans are living bodies, right? Living beings. So oud is very, very particular, and that's why I wanted to include it here in this list. And if you don't pick the right oud fragrance, you may end up hating oud when in reality it's just because you didn't pick the right perfume, right? So a very entry-level oud fragrance that I think it's worth trying is, this has been inspired by the sunsets in the Middle East. That's why I think they picked this beautiful gold color. The bottle is beautiful. It used to be very expensive. It used to be in a niche price range. However, nowadays you can find it online for a very affordable price. It was very, very, very rare to find. You could only get it at select Versace boutiques throughout the country. In fact, the first time I came across this beauty was in Hawaii, in Honolulu, at the Versace boutique, and they told me that only select boutiques throughout the country really had that. And nowadays you can get it online pretty easy. This is a super inoffensive oud. It's stunning. It has rose, it has saffron. Saffron is prominent. It has leather, which is also prominent, but it's very smooth. There's no harshness here. It's not masculine. This is actually one of the few feminine ouds you can find in the market. As I said at the beginning, oud tend to be a little bit too masculine sometimes, and that's what is a turnoff for many women who are not used to oud, right? But this is very feminine. This is an oud I could wear all year round, not necessarily in the colder months as it is the case of the traditional ouds. This is something I would wear during the day, which to me it's impossible because oud to me it's a nighttime type of fragrance. But this one, it's something I wear even during the summer and during the day. It's classy, it smells very rich, very luxurious. It smells way more expensive than it is. Very, very nice. It also has freesia. It also has freesias, vanilla, patchouli, sandalwood, which gives this fragrance a lot of creaminess. It's stunning, guys. It's really, really very beautiful. When they launched this fragrance around 2014, 2015, it was around $200 for the small one. But as I said, nowadays you can get it online for a very affordable price, and I highly recommend you. If you want to try oud, or if you tried oud in the past and you didn't like it, or you're not sure, or if you're thinking about starting your journey in the Oud fragrances, I think this is a very entry-level one you should definitely try. It's very elegant, it's very classy, it's very, very sophisticated. It smells very luxurious, as I said before. Signature scent worthy. Give it a try. Versace Oud Oriental. Guys, the second challenging note to me is leather. And I always say that if you want to start trying leather fragrances, I strongly suggest that you start with Suede. And I have the perfect fragrance for you, which is White Suede by Tom Ford. This is one of my favorite fragrances I have in my collection. Signature scent, one of my signature scents. I love this. I love this. I can't get enough of this fragrance. It's a very soft type of leather. That's why it's suede actually. And I prefer suede over leather because it's softer, it's more feminine, it's not animalic. It doesn't project like crazy. This is more like a skin scent, but still it has a very beautiful sillage during the first 2 hours. And it's just beautiful. It has lily, it has rose, it has sandalwood, it has musk. It's very musky. It has suede, of course. I would say that suede and musk are the most prominent, and sandalwood, I can pick the sandalwood here. But it's a stunning fragrance. On a blotter, it really smells 100% unisex, but on my skin, it's super feminine. It definitely is a unisex fragrance, but I love it. Even if you don't like unisex fragrances, trust me, on my skin at least, it smells super feminine. So what I think is that it truly is very versatile and it really adjusts to each person, right? Like every fragrance kind of does that, but some fragrances do that in a better way. I think this is one of those examples. I think that if you try this on a man, it will smell very masculine, but on a woman, it will smell very, very feminine, as it is in my case. A great entry-level fragrance if you want to start learning more or appreciating leather fragrances. Go for Suede first, and I think this is the perfect example. This is the perfect fragrance for you, White Suede by Tom Ford. So guys, the third challenging note I have here is iris. I think iris is a very challenging note because it's a flower, of course, but it doesn't behave like a flower. It's not like the typical flower you can expect from a flower bouquet, for example. It doesn't have that type of freshness. It doesn't even smell like a flower. It doesn't really smell like a flower. So if you are not familiar with iris and you go to buy an iris fragrance, and let's say the sales associate shows you an iris fragrance, you will be caught off guard. You will say, this is not flower. What are you showing me, right? Because yes, iris smells different. And I will link a video here. I talk about iris pretty in depth in my previous video about how to safely blind buy fragrances so you can have a better idea about this flower, about this note. But I think this one is the perfect entry-level fragrance if you want to start learning more and appreciating more iris. This is Iris Celadon by Armani Prive. Stunning fragrance. It's one of the most beautiful iris fragrances I smell. It's very creamy, super feminine as well. Well, iris is a feminine scent, but it can take different directions when it's combined with spices, for example, if it's combined with cardamom, if it's combined with pepper, sometimes when it's combined with cinnamon, you can definitely smell leather there, even though the fragrance doesn't have leather in the composition. I talked about this before as well in that same video, and I gave the example of Louis Rouge by Louboutin. It doesn't have leather in the composition. However, the fragrance smells leathery, and in fact it was inspired by the Parisian cabarets, like all the leather seats, everything is so sexy and dark and mysterious. So you will never think you're smelling a flower there. The first reaction is, this is leather, if you can pick some notes, right? But the leather is very prominent and there's no leather in the notes, right? So it is a very interesting flower. I love iris, but it's a love or hate. It really depends on the direction it takes. For example, if it is mixed with violet, or if it is mixed with rose, or if it is mixed with peonies, for example, the iris can smell super powdery, especially with roses. Very powdery. And instead, if we have the root of the iris, which is the orris, we will have a super creamy, super buttery type of fragrance. So as you can see, it's a flower that you need to study. It can take different directions. It's not for everyone. Or you might like, for example, the leathery type of root, but you might not like the powdery. Many people don't like powdery scents, or conversely, you might love the powdery notes on a specific fragrance because it has iris, but then you want to try another fragrance with iris, but it smells like leather, and you say, no, this is not the same. What the heck, right? So it is very important to know the different directions that iris can take, and I think this one, as I said, is a perfect entry-level iris fragrance. It's very musky, very feminine, as I said, super creamy. It's powdery at the same time. It has musk, it has ambre, it's a very musky scent. It also has chocolate. Chocolate here doesn't give sweetness to this fragrance. This is not a sweet fragrance. It's not a gourmand fragrance, even though it has chocolate in the composition. I think the chocolate here, it's like a high percentage cacao type of chocolate, very dark, which gives the fragrance a lot of creaminess instead of sweetness. This is also slightly leathery, but after 10 minutes, I promise you, you won't smell that leathery nuance anymore, and the chocolate starts kicking in and you will start smelling a super buttery, creamy scent. And as it transitions into the base notes, you will start picking more and more creaminess and that type of buttery notes. You'll start smelling more powderiness as well, and more chocolate, but again, not in a gourmand type of way, it's more in a creamy way. Patchouli here is almost undetectable, but there is some patchouli here. There are some aldehydes, but the aldehydes here are they do have a very modern take. It's not the type of aldehydes that have that bad stigma. I will talk about that later. It's such a gorgeous scent, super beautiful, very feminine. This is 100% feminine. It's elegant, super sophisticated. I think this is a fragrance you can pull off all year round, and it makes for a beautiful and perfect entry-level fragrance if you want to start exploring iris. So the fourth challenging note I have here on my list, guys, is Vetiver, and I have the perfect entry-level fragrance for you if you want to try Vetiver, and it is Vetiver by Essential Parfums. So this is a very different type of vetiver. This is more green, this is fizzy. Vetiver is a very challenging note, as I said, especially for women. At the beginning, when I started my journey into the niche fragrances, I didn't like vetiver. And this is what commonly happens to most women, because vetiver can be very masculine. It has that typical dirty hay smell, dry as well, that most women don't like, especially if you like feminine fragrances, as it is my case, right? But as I started appreciating different notes, I started loving vetiver to a point that today it is one of my favorite notes in perfumery. And this fragrance, I think it's amazing. And what makes this one a perfect entry-level vetiver fragrance is, as I said, it's very green, it's fizzy, it's very crystalline, I would say. Usually vetiver tend to be a little bit dirty, earthy, in woody. This is woody, this is slightly earthy, but it's very crystalline, very aquatic, so to speak. It's very uplifting, very invigorating. It is 100% unisex, but it doesn't have that typical masculine note, right? That for many women, they are a turn off. I think if you're a man, you don't even need an entry-level vetiver note. So if you're a woman instead, I think you do, because as I said, vetiver is a note that grew on me, and in my experience, many women have experienced the same thing. They don't like vetiver at the beginning, but the more they train their nose, they started appreciating this note more and more. This is absolutely beautiful. It's woody, earthy, but as I said, super sheer. It's like transparent, it's airy. I absolutely love this fragrance. Stunning, guys. You have to try it. Vetiver by Essential Parfums. If you really want to step into the vetiver world, you don't have to. There's no must here. You make your own rules. But if you want to try vetiver and you don't know, you're not sure, this makes a great entry-level one. So guys, my next challenging note is milk. And I have talked about this note before, because milk is not the same as cream, right? So milky notes or lactonic notes are not the same as creamy notes. I also talk about this in my previous video when I talk about iris. I will link it here. and I talk about how to safely blind buy fragrances, and I also go over milk and creamy notes. So today I'm not gonna go into deep detail. I did that in my previous video, but still I wanted to include it here because milk is very difficult. Milk doesn't work for everybody, especially when it's combined with specific fruits, and milk in general, it's not a safe note unless it's combined with musk. Well, in my experience, when you have milky notes combined with musk or with cedar, oftentimes it works better, right? But with certain fruits, you need to be careful. Again, I talk about that in my previous video. So a perfect entry-level fragrance with a milk note is Milk Musk by Molton Brown. Molton Brown is based in London. All they do is for your well-being. Their shower gels are amazing. Their body lotions and even their fragrances are amazing. I wouldn't say they are inexpensive, but they are pretty affordable considering the quality. They are very high quality, and you can get a niche fragrance for the same you would get a designer fragrance, right? So I think the price quality ratio, it's really, really good. So this is a very creamy fragrance, super, super nice. It's very unisex. This is 100% unisex. It's very creamy. It's very clean as well without having screechy notes. It's not green or anything, but it's very creamy, and it will give you that clean feeling like when you step out of the shower, right? It's very sweet. Its milk is super present. This is like smelling a warm cup of milk. It's 100% milk, 100% lactonic. It's a very comforting scent. Also has Illuminum resin. Illuminum resin is a type of resin that has a very honey, thick, syrupy type of consistency, and you can smell that here. It's kind of syrupy. This fragrance is kind of syrupy without being sticky. The milk and this type of syrup, I think, makes this fragrance very unique, a very nice concoction that it is very cozy and warm at the same time. So it's warm, but it doesn't have spices. So I think this resin is what is making this fragrance this warm. It has musk, it has benzoin, it has tonka bean. It is very, very versatile, as I said, and 100% unisex. Day or night, I would say you can pull this off all day, honestly, but I think this is a daytime type of scent. I think this is office safe, and it's something you can pull off all year round. So yeah, give it a try if you want to start learning or trying milky notes. Milk Musk by Molton Brown. So guys, my next challenging note in perfumery is bay leaves or laurel, right? It's the same. So this is a very difficult note because we tend to see this more in fougere fragrances. Fougere is an olfactory group, an olfactory family that represents mostly those fragrances targeted for men. So they tend to be very masculine and sometimes herbaceous, bitter. And usually you see this note in fragrances that most women don't like. So I think it's an amazing note. You have to grow on that. Same with Vetiver. I think I have the perfect entry-level fragrance for you guys if you want to start your journey into this note, which is Lauro by Parco Palladiano. Parco Palladiano is the reserve or niche line by Bottega Veneta. And yeah, this fragrance is called Lauro, or it's called V, which actually in Roman numerals means 5 or 5th. So it could be V or it could be quinto, which means 5th in Italian, right? So anyway, this fragrance is stunning, guys. If you like fragrances like Sycamore by Chanel Exclusives, for example, you will love this one. I think this is more on an entry level. I would say Sycamore has more vetiver, and I would say it's I would say it's more like an advanced type of scent. This is an entry level. It will give you the same vibes as Sycamore, even the same type of fragrance. It's very similar, smells very similar, but on the other hand, it's different. This is more feminine than Sycamore. It's simply stunning. It's so fragrant. It has sage, it has rosemary, but I don't know how they did this concoction, because even if it has a lot of herbs, which tend to be again in fougere fragrances, here they smell so feminine, guys. It has tea. It also has geranium. I think the geranium here is what is giving this fragrance the feminine note. It's stunning. It also has vetiver, but the vetiver, it's less masculine than in Sycamore. That's why I've been comparing this. Now, this is like a love at first sniff. I love, same with Sycamore. I love this. But if you like Sycamore, highly likely you will enjoy this fragrance a lot. This is a very unisex type of scent. This is something you can pull off all year round. This is absolutely, absolutely stunning, super elegant. I can see a CEO pulling this off. CEO of whatever, it doesn't matter if it is from corporate America or any corporation, or if you are the CEO of your own home, it doesn't matter, but you have to be a CEO in your heart, in your soul. So if you're a CEO, if you're a boss lady, this is for you. Super invigorating, super sophisticated. This is class in a bottle, guys. And I think this is, again, for a CEO, no matter where, but for a CEO. Lauro, Parco, Palladiano. Guys, it really depends on the flanker. Some flankers will just say V, and some others will say V and Lauro, okay? Just quick look, but it's the same fragrance. So guys, the next challenging note on my list is tomato leaf. Yeah, it sounds weird, right? It's not that common, but it's stunning. I love tomato leaf. Usually tomato leaf can be green, sharp, slightly pungent, and very herbal. It can smell very herbaceous, which for some people is a turn off. That's why I think I have the perfect entry-level fragrance if you want to try tomato leaf. So it is tomato leaf by the house of Illuminum. This is a beautiful fragrance. I put a nice dent there. Super green, citrusy as well. It's super green, super fresh, very invigorating. This is super energizing. I think this would be good for even for meditation. It's such a zen type of scent. I love it. It's slightly aquatic, and the green leaf here doesn't smell sharp or herbaceous. Actually, it is very green, as I said, slightly sweet. It's a very well balanced scent. Let me try spray something here. Beautiful, gosh. Well, it has, of course, tomato leaf, it has orange, it has freesia, it has carrot seeds, which is one of my favorite notes. It also has musk, vanilla, but it's not a gourmand type of scent. Vanilla gives some sweetness here, some nice balance. It's musky as well. It has some osmanthus, and I think the osmanthus is what is giving this fragrance this freshness and this slightly citrusy opening. It's beautiful. It's a very aquatic scent, not only slightly. The more I smell it, the more I can pick the aquatic notes. It's very clean, very fresh. It's very fruity and very floral as well, but very fruity. 100% unisex. This is something for all year round, but I think it's perfect for summer days. The hotter, the better. Beautiful scent, very versatile, completely ageless. If you want to relate this fragrance to something that you might know, if you remember DKNY, they launched in 1999. This is something similar. It's not the same. The other one smelled more like mandarin, but it has the same type of freshness, that type of aquatic note, that invigorating type of feeling. It can be similar. In fact, if you don't want to buy this, you can buy that one. I think you can still get it online, but that is very strong in citruses. Like, as I said, this is the other one. I think the DKNY smells more like a fresh peeled mandarin orange or like a clementine rather than tomato leaf, but it has similar vibes. So guys, yeah, if you want to venture into this weird, different, challenging note, go for tomato leaf by the house of Illuminum. So guys, my next challenging note is salt. Salt is trendy. We see salt in ice cream, we see salt in candy, and we see salt in perfumery, right? So I picked the perfect entry-level fragrance for you guys, and I think this is gonna make a perfect fragrance if you want to try salt in perfumery. It's called Salt. It's by Ellies Brooklyn. I love this company because it's vegan and it's cruelty-free. I'm not vegan, but I have a lot of respect for vegan companies. This is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. This is more like a floral musky type of scent. It has ylang ylang. It is kind of tropical. It has TR, it has ylang ylang, it has musk, it has sandalwood. As I said at the beginning, this is a floral musky scent more than anything. It is creamy, it's salty, but it's not like the typical salty scent that for some people can be a turn off. Salt doesn't work for everyone. But I think this is more tropical as well. It's like a tropical, say, let's put it in simple words. I would say this is a tropical scent, a very light tropical scent with salt accords. And I think it's beautiful. It doesn't last more than 3-4 hours, honestly, but it's beautiful. It has a beautiful sillage. It doesn't project but it's a very nice skin scent, but still has a very decent and beautiful sillage. It's a nice, very, very nice fragrance. If you are craving that oceanic feeling, but you don't like typical tropical beachy scents, this is for you. You don't have the coconut here, you don't have the scent and lotion vibes here, but still when you smell this, it reminds me of the ocean, it reminds me of the beach, without the coconut accords, which I don't mind because I love coconut, but I don't really like scent and lotion vibes, if it makes sense. So yeah, this is absolutely beautiful. Honestly, I think this is something you should try, and yeah, let me know. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. And my last challenging note for today, guys, aldehydes. Yes, I have to include aldehydes here because I think it's one of the most controversial notes out there. I've seen people trashing houses because they say that with their hideous labels, they smell like old school or they smell like your grandma scent and stuff like that. And honestly, I think that can be farther from the truth. I think people who think that is because they haven't tried any other fragrance that have aldehydes in the composition, or probably they did and they didn't even realize they were smelling aldehydes, right? But aldehydes can also take different directions. One direction is the vintage route, right? Like we have in Chanel fragrances. I personally love that. I think that those type of aldehydes give that type of all Hollywood glamour that no other fragrance has. But for some people, those notes are a turn off, which I totally respect, right? But aldehydes can also take other directions. Aldehydes can be soapy, can be clean, can be fizzy, can be sparkly, can give you the same type of more than smell feeling of like a glass of champagne or a glass of very bubbly Prosecco, for example, right? So don't put aldehydes in just one category because it really depends on the entire formulation, and it really depends on the house DNA. Like Chanel has their own DNA, Byredo also uses aldehydes and they have a completely different DNA. Byredo fragrances tend to be more modern, more contemporary, while Chanel fragrances have that typical classicism that so many people, including myself, love. But they are different type of directions, right? I've tried many fragrances from many houses, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, the aldehydes smell completely different. And again, it really depends not only on the formulation, but on the house DNA, right? So don't talk about aldehydes just thinking about one type of fragrance. So today, my entry-level fragrance for you guys with aldehydes is none other than Chanel No. 5 Law. This is a beautiful scent, super beautiful. It's like a very modern take on the original No. 5. I'm not a fan of the original No. 5, but I love this one. This smells niche. This screams class. It's super beautiful. It's something that you can pull off all year round, all type of events. The bottle is stunning. I love it. I don't know what is it with this minimalist square bottle. We all go crazy about it, right? Love it. And this fragrance is amazing. Yeah, it does have aldehydes, but it's not the same type of aldehydes as you can find in Chanel No. 5, for example, even if we are talking about the same house and talking about a flanker of the original. But again, I don't like the original that much, but I do like this one, for example. I love this. This fragrance has neroli, it has jasmine, it has rose, it has aldehydes, of course, it has musk, it has orris. And also another thing I want to remind you is that usually aldehydes are used as a top note, never as a base note, or almost never. So you can expect the aldehydes to fade away after 10-20 minutes. So if you like the fragrance but you're not sure about the aldehyde, if you don't like the opening, I totally respect that. But if you do like the opening but you have issues with the aldehydes, remember always that aldehydes fade away really, really quick, and then it will transition into a more powdery, probably creamy type of scent. This is how most fragrances with aldehydes behave. So yeah, I love it. Chanel No. 5 Law by none other than Chanel. So guys, this is it for today. Thank you so much for making it to the end. These have been my 10 entry-level fragrances for 10 challenging notes. Please let me know in the comments below what you think about this, and tell me what are your most challenging notes. We all have challenging notes. I hear people all the time saying leather doesn't work, wood doesn't work, tea doesn't work. That's why I wanted to put together this video. I hope you find it helpful and valuable. and I will see you in my next video next Saturday. Stay safe and bye bye.